All right. So the first question that we got to answer is concerning society on planet Earth and how difficult it is sometimes to deeply connect with ourselves when those other selves of ours called human beings in society are not in unity and in that they are not doing things in the divine order. We have these toxic situations and toxic relations that just hold us back, and sometimes we just don't really know, like, is it okay not to speak to that person anymore? Is it okay to just stand up and leave? And like, how can we handle these non-authentic forms around us that try to create pitfalls and try to intervene our union with the divine? So I would like to answer this question in through stages. Number one would be the practical solutions, and let's start with that one. So let's say that there is a person whom we have known for several 5, 6, 10 years, and during these 5, 6, 10 years we had a very beautiful connection with these people, but at some point, as this word is the word of changes, and there are just few things that don't change with time, people around us might change, and for not the sake of good. So one question that some of us or most of us encounter is what is the right thing to do when somebody just comes and they start to just jump around and just pulling us back into the illusions and into the pitfalls of duality. So one thing that we really have to understand is that the final goal is to have this inner outer peace, because if we have this inner peace of not being attached to anything, then we have the outer as well, because the inner becomes the outer too. And sometimes we are a bit attached to, we have known that person for so long, and how can we just let it all go? Now, one thing that we know is that because everything changes, that person is not the same person, as you are not the same one who entered the call 5 minutes ago. So in this ever-changing phenomenon, it is important to look at ourselves as the ones who can make a change, number one, and it means that we have to take care of our own wellness, not to sacrifice. People tend to sacrifice their wellness for the sake of others, but what kind of word is it when you have to give up your own wellness? And I don't mean physical wellness, but in general, speaking about wellness, because it's a lose-to-lose situation then, if we speak about like normal life activity. And we don't really believe in win-to-lose situations. We really believe in win-to-win situations, when one does something and the other one, with a coherent reaction, creates another great thing. So these together create a big harmony. And when there is somebody who doesn't do that, no matter how long we have known them, for how long we have known them, if it is the case that our frequency, our plane of existence, and theirs is just not coherent, they are not of the same nature, there is no point of in holding on to that situation on and on, when in reality you cannot support them, most likely, because if they started to act like strangely, oddly, then it might be that they don't understand if you have tried to, show them like you have changed and not to the direction of the self, then, and they don't understand, so for sure you cannot help them. And furthermore, if they decided to go on a not illumined path, for sure they will not help you either to become illuminated. So you cannot help them, they cannot help you, and it is just that there is a very diplomatic way of just, showing people that the time when you have to be with them sometimes is just over. And, the very important thing about this is that there is nothing personal in these things, because the things change impersonally. We might feel that it's personal because we have the experience in front of our own eyes, but it doesn't mean that we have to take it personally. Because if you think about it, a person who is rude with others, as an example, is not rude because of a good reason. It is a pattern that happens in the life of that being, and it is being done in impersonal. It just happens, and if you were the unlucky one who was there in the wrong moment, then you were the one who could experience that experience from that person. So it's for sure nothing personal from that side. And if you think about the whole existence as one big phenomenon, this just plays with itself, you can just say that it's nothing personal. And because of this, if I just want to leave, it's nothing personal either. It's not because of that person, because you can still love that person, but it doesn't mean that you have to go hand in hand anywhere, right? Because most of the people do this behavior that we still keep going with those people who are no more meant to be in our life, is because we think that innocence and being love means to just surrender to whatever comes in our way. But the question is if this is really so, because there are times when there are things to be done. And let's say that you have a friend whom you really love, and at some point they just show up with a whole other self of theirs, and you just know that it's over. But it doesn't mean that you still don't, like, impersonally love them. Because why do you love everybody? Because in a way they are all you as a mirror image, or not necessarily a mirror image, as another self of yours. And you actually don't love anybody else, you just love the Divine Mother, who is present in everything, as she is present in you, me, the lamp, the water, etc. So in this way, you just keep, in your focus on this oneness. And by focusing on this, you just keep, have this compassion towards them. But at the same time, we understand that you can just say that, look, nothing personal. And it might be that another time when things happen like that, we will still be as good friends as we have been, if it is the case. And it is okay not to answer a phone call if it's truly like sucking off your energy. It is okay to just stand up and just go away. Nobody forces you to stay there and just be there, and for what reason again. And there are sometimes things that just truly have to be done. For example, if you show a person like how unpleasantly they behave, at some point it might happen that they realize what they did, and because you were truthful and you told them what you see, you did not hold back your experiences regarding their behavior, it may happen that they simply just realize, oh wow, he was right. So they might even change because you were truthful. So there is no point in holding back, telling somebody that something is off. Because if you yourself, who are aware of how great a human being can be, if you yourself don't do it, who will do it for them? And in a way, all those who are seekers of unity have this not responsibility, but responsibility to help the children of the Divine Mother find their way back to her. And if you know that there is something against the law of the divine, or in other words, how things are done properly, you can just shed some light on that one. And you know, people follow those who have determination, who know what they live for, who know what is righteous action and how to stay in balance and in union. And there are some people, as a very great master said, there are no things I have not achieved yet, and yet I still act, I still perform action, because the people of the future times will look back at us and they will follow our action. So knowing this, even if there's nothing for you to know because you know everything, there is still this thing that you will still do action, and you are involved in life, and you shall not be afraid to just stand up and say this is not correct. No matter what society reacts, if there's a situation which is not correct, why to be fearful to express this divine fire? Because we know that the nature of fire is that it burns everything that is different from itself. So there is this fearless state when you can just go and say, look, this is it. Accept or reject, but look at it, it's there. And if you have this fearless action and you are determined to make a change, as it is said so many times, then you shall not have this fear of, oh, but how are they going to react? No matter how they react, if there is something off, you do it for the sake of every single being that was on the planet, to show a good way of living. And how can you overcome this fear of, but how is that person going to react? Well, it is easy. You go and you experiment. You just hold back all your fears and you just go and you say, I'm not well with this. Because you truly want to be the children of the light, as we sometimes say. And if you are the child of the light, then you just let the Divine Mother express herself through you. And there shall be no fear then to carry out the parts of what the Divine Mother wants you to carry out. So no matter how much society pushes its toxications upon you, you have this being on fire state. Being on fire meaning that you are deeply in love with life and you would do anything for life to be on its full absolute state. So being on fire, being compassionate, and doing the right thing, if you can do these three things, for sure you will not have fearful thoughts at all. And to just show some examples from the past masters of how they had to act in societies, because all the masters, or most of them, were in societies where they had to face certain unjust situations. So what did they do? Let us give some examples here. For example, Moses. We know the story of the Jews being in Egypt, all the tyranny and everything, and how they were discriminated and everything. And there was Moses who, had to free the people, not by any means, but, for the sake of peace and oneness. So at the beginning of his life, when he was under the pressure of the Pharaoh, he had certain things to perform, to go against the will of the Pharaoh. And you might think that a wrathful Pharaoh, he wasn't a most compassionate man. And yet Moses, whom we know as a very great prophet, had to do it not because he had fun in going against somebody, but because there are things to be done. And in every time period, at any time period, there are societies where there are masters who have to face the darker side of the society. But if those masters don't do anything, who will do anything, right? Another great example is Krishna from some 1,000 years ago, who was in a political system, who had to do anything to try to avoid a war, but because of the sins of the people, the war broke out, and he had to be in that war and to cooperate with the people. And of course, nobody finds pleasure in going into a war, of course. But if the times of that period force a choice, then it has to be done, it has to be fulfilled, and it is the same thing with respect to any kind of society. So how to deal with toxic people? Don't look at them as toxic people, just look at them as unresolved patterns, because there might be 1, 2, a million people around us who are ignorant, but for whose sake are we here if not for the sake of the ignorance? Because those who are illumined don't need help. They are well in themselves, they know what they know. Those who don't know themselves and wander around like blind men, those are in need. And even if they don't see that they are in need of, impersonal divine love, they do. And if you can show them how great you are, but greatness in the means of how great your love is for somebody who is the ignorant of ignorance, that is for what we know great masters. A great master is not known for their miracles. Oh, they did this, they did that, they created whatever out of thin air, because masters have done these things, but their greatness is not measured in the numbers of miracles they had performed, rather in the bliss and the joy they could show in their lives as an example of how a human being can coordinate and cooperate together with the divine as an incarnated divine being. For example, if you look at Yeshua or Jesus, there are a lot of misunderstandings regarding him, because they say that, oh, he was the Son of God, he did so many miracles, but his true greatness lies in the fact that he showed people how to be like him. He created many Christs. The apostles, most of them were Christs at the end of their lives. And the true message was always, I am who I am and you are as well. This, the same thing. This is the greatness. And of course, their societies were toxic. A practical thing what they did was to just say that it is the play of the divine, and this is the number 2, how you can handle these things, that it is a play of the divine. This whole scenario of human existence is just a phenomenon, it is just the play of the divine. And if you just say, Divine Mother, just take away my illusion that I think that those forms are different from you. You play in them as you wish to play, and I shall love you no matter what. This is how the ideal of all those religions present can be fulfilled. Because if you look at any kind of religion on the planet, the basis, the very real origin was that everything is the same stuff, everything is one. So you must understand how you can love everything as your own self or as an embodiment of the divine, which is the same thing. And if you can look at this as such, you know, how this can be performed is with constant faith and, you know, prayer to the Divine Mother or to any kind of deity you would prefer, just to tell them like how much you know that they are present in every form, and that you want those forms to see that they are part of the divine in as much as any master has ever been. And you keep this focus, this concentration, that this is the goal. Just because if you want to be one with everything, you are one with, you are the self of the ignorance too, because the self is ever pure, ever free, and this is the basis of creation. If you see that this self is me, you, and everything, you just do the things that have to be done without fearful thoughts, so that the self may be seen, no matter what the conclusion, as Krishna says in one of his sayings, to know the self, you must know the self, even if you lose your own life during the seeking, that the self is the only desirable thing to be known. Because if you're not the self, you're a person with qualities, with likes and dislikes. But if you're the self, there's nothing else but the self, and then you don't feel that there are toxic people trying to hold you back from something. The only thing that you can be held back from is to know the self. But if you know the self, you cannot be held back from anything. So as a method is just to, before going to sleep, just truly see how the mother takes over every being. And beyond the injustice, if you just say that in reality we are ever free in the Divine Mother, and it is just a dream of the Divine Mother that we are here playing this, because in reality we are just hugging each other, laughing hearts as the Divine Mother, one with her. And this is just here to be seen but not to be taken 100% seriously. And you just let it all just burn, and it is gone at some point. You can just jump even if you are hurt, and you just jump and you just laugh because you realize that you're always in the hands of the divine, always on the laps of the Divine Mother as her divine children. And if you see everything like this, society fades away, and you can see the Divine Mother as just an unmeasurable love, just as bliss. Because let me tell you this, bliss is ever present. It's always there. And it is just us who disconnect from bliss, because if you connect with joy and bliss, even the most horrible thing seems to you as a play of the divine. And how do you know that bliss is always there? Just think about a time when you were very blissed out, very happy, very wow. And if I ask you, where is the location of your bliss? Where is it? Is it in your hair? No. Is it in your eyes? No. Is it on your palms? No. So your bliss was just there. And no matter where you looked, you saw that bliss. So it means that the bliss has always been there. You just open your heart in order to receive the bliss and be with one with the omnipresent bliss. And then there is no society, there is no difference, and even toxic relations become just a memory, laughter, because you are fearless and you are just there witnessing everything as the mother. So there shall be no fear in going into situations you would dislike. Rather, why don't you just jump and make the difference? Because you know that as long as you have fears, you cannot be absolutely one with the Divine Mother, because you have fears, and fear is like saying that you don't accept the love from the mother and the love to all, because there is this fear of, oh, but what is going to happen? Whatever may happen, we don't act because we would like to see the fruit of action. We act and we perform action for the sake of action. We breathe for the sake of breathing. We eat for the sake of eating, not because we would like to see and we would like to receive the fruit of action. And if there's something to be done, we say it shall be done by the Divine Mother, and we renounce the fruit of it. Therefore, any reaction just goes away, because you know the Divine Mother acted through you. So no matter what the fruit of the action is, you're ever free without consequences in the Divine Mother. So no society is there anymore, no toxic people. There's only the self, life, and life forevermore. That's it for the first topic.